Daniel slides our holiday folder between the gravy boat and my wine glass while his mother is still describing what's wrong with my potatoes. "Merry Christmas," he says. The green accordion folder has lived in our kitchen drawer for 9 years. I expect the receipt for the oven part he promised to order. Instead, I lift the flap and find divorce papers, yellow sign here tabs, and Daniel's neat pencil check marks. Evelyn laughs before I can speak. "Oh, Claire, don't look like that. The house is staying with its family. The settlement says I have 30 days to leave the house I bought." Daniel touches my wrist. "It's all standard." I turn the pages, Schedule A, then Schedule C. "Where's the property schedule?" His fingers tighten. Across the table, Evelyn raises her champagne. Her nieces follow, uncertain but obedient. Daniel says, "The printer must have skipped it." And I look at the man I have slept beside for 11 years and wonder how long they have been rehearsing Christmas without me. The dining room smells like rosemary, hot butter, and the balsam candle. Evelyn says gives her headaches. Her nieces, Amanda and Paige, sit very still. Amanda is holding her champagne by the stem, the way Daniel taught everyone after we bought the good glasses. Paige studies the cranberry sauce as if it contains legal advice. I flip back to the first page. Petition for dissolution of marriage. My name is typed beneath Daniel's, Claire Elise Mercer. The letters are clean and black. The date beside my signature line is tomorrow's. "You printed tomorrow's date," I say. Daniel glances at the page. "That can be corrected." "Why tomorrow?" "The notary couldn't come until after dessert," Evelyn says. Daniel gives her a look. It is quick, but I see it. Evelyn closes her mouth and drinks. Someone is coming to notarize my divorce after the pecan pie. My ears fill with a soft, rushing sound. On the mantel, the brass carriage clock clicks toward 8. I bought it at an estate sale our second year here, and Daniel spent an entire Saturday coaxing the mechanism back to life. He had held the tiny gears in his palm and said, "Look at that. Somebody made this to outlast them." "Claire," he says now in the gentle voice he uses when a subcontractor wants to be paid, "we weren't going to do this tonight. Mom found the papers in my office." "They were in your briefcase," Evelyn says, "and thank God I did. You two have been making each other miserable." Amanda whispers, "Aunt Ev." "What, they have?" I look at Daniel. "You hid divorce papers in my holiday folder because your mother found them?" "I didn't hide them. You put them under the December receipts. I needed you to see them." "During dinner?" "I wanted us to talk privately." Evelyn sets down her glass. "Then perhaps you shouldn't have left them where I could see them." The ridiculousness of that nearly makes me laugh. Daniel's office door has a keypad because he keeps client bids there. Evelyn has never found anything in that room unless he handed her the code and drew a map. I study the settlement again. The words wobble, then sharpen. 30 days to vacate. Personal effects to be removed by mutual arrangement. Real property addressed in attached schedule. B. Waiver of further claims after execution. There is no Schedule B. Daniel reaches for the folder. "You don't need to read every line right now." I pull it against my chest. That changes his face. Not much. His mouth stays level, his shoulders loose beneath the blue sweater I gave him that morning. But something watchful appears behind his eyes. "You said it was standard," I say. "It is." "Then why can't I read it?" "You can. I'm saying we should clear the table first. I'm not signing anything." Evelyn releases a theatrical breath. "No one is holding a gun to your head. No, you're just waiting for a notary." Paige pushes her chair back. "I think we should go." Evelyn turns to her. "Sit down. You've barely touched your dinner." "I'm full." "You're always full when things get uncomfortable." "Mom," Daniel says. It is the first time he has sounded irritated, and it is not with Evelyn. It is with the room for failing to stay arranged around his plan. I stand. My chair legs scrape the oak floor. "Where are you going?" he asks. "To get a pen." His relief is so immediate that I feel it like a slap. I walk out before my knees can betray me. The laundry room is off the kitchen, narrow and overheated from the dryer. Clean napkins are folded on top of the machine. Daniel's dress shirt hangs from the utility sink, one cuff soaking in club soda because he spilled wine before dinner. I close the door and lock it. Then I photograph every page. My hands shake hard enough that I have to brace my elbows on the dryer. Page 1 blurs. I do it again. Petition, proposed settlement, Schedule A, Schedule C, signature pages, yellow tabs, Daniel's pencil marks. I send everything to Ruth Kaplan with one sentence. Daniel put these in our Christmas folder. Schedule B is missing. They brought a notary. The message shows delivered. Someone knocks. Claire. Daniel tries the handle. Open the door. I'm using the bathroom. This isn't a bathroom. Then I'm doing laundry. Can we not make this more dramatic than it needs to be? I look at his shirt hanging over the sink. Last spring, when Evelyn needed cataract surgery, Daniel had promised to take her. A client emergency came up. I drove her, brought her home, labeled her eye drops, made soup, and spent 2 nights on her couch because she said she was frightened of falling. The next week, she told Daniel I had reorganized her medicine cabinet to make her feel incompetent. He had laughed when he repeated it. She's just sensitive about accepting help, he said. My phone lights up. Ruth. Do not sign. A second message arrives before I can breathe. Ruth. Do not let anyone add or replace pages. Keep the originals if possible. Call me when you are alone. I type. Is it real? The dots appear, disappear, then appear again. Ruth. The petition may be. The agreement is incomplete. Missing schedule means you have not been told what property terms you're supposedly accepting. Daniel knocks again. I know you're texting Ruth. Of course he knows. Evelyn has called Ruth my solicitor since the afternoon Ruth corrected her at closing. Your son isn't giving Claire the house, Ruth had said. Claire is purchasing it from you. Evelyn spent 9 years turning that sentence into an insult. I take one more picture of the empty space after Schedule A. Then I open the door. Daniel steps back. Give me the folder. Ruth says the agreement is incomplete. His jaw works once. From the dining room, Evelyn calls, Is the solicitor joining us for pie? I walk past him and return to my chair. I set the folder beside my plate, keeping one hand on it. Amanda is staring at the tablecloth. Paige has put on her coat. Evelyn raises her glass again. Well, to new beginnings. Daniel doesn't raise his. I do. The champagne tastes warm and flat. I let them toast while my solicitor answered. Paige leaves first, mumbling something about a migraine. Amanda stays long enough to carry 3 plates into the kitchen, which is how Evelyn signals that a guest is good and how Amanda signals that she would like to be invisible. I'm sorry, Amanda says when we are alone beside the sink. For the potatoes? Her face crumples for half a second. I didn't know. I turn on the faucet. Did you know they were planning to talk about the house? She dries her hands on her dress. That is answer enough. How much did you know? Aunt Ev said Daniel was finally fixing the ownership problem. What ownership problem? Amanda looks toward the dining room. Evelyn is speaking in a low voice, clipping each word. Daniel says something I can't hear. She says Uncle Robert always meant for the house to stay with Daniel. Robert was dead before Evelyn sold it to me. I know. I paid her asking price. I know, Claire. You were at the closing dinner. Amanda's eyes shine. I know. Daniel enters carrying the gravy boat. Amanda grabs her purse. Thank you for dinner. He watches her leave through the back door. Nice. Now my family thinks I ambushed you. You did ambush me. I was trying to keep this civil. You invited your mother. I didn't invite her into the conversation. She knew a notary was coming. He puts the gravy boat on the counter too hard. Porcelain clicks against granite. Behind him, Evelyn appears in the doorway with her coat draped over one arm. I will not apologize for trying to prevent a scene. You announced the house was yours, I say. I said it belongs in the family. I am Daniel's family. The silence after that is so clean I could rap it. Daniel looks down. Evelyn's expression softens, and for one stupid second, I think I have reached her. Then she says, "You haven't behaved like it for a long time. Mom, go home. I'm not leaving you here alone tonight." "It's my house, too," he says. Too. Not our house, not home. His house, too. Evelyn slips on her coat. "Call me when you come to your senses." It takes me a moment to realize she is speaking to me. She reaches into her purse. Something brass flashes between her fingers. Before she closes her fist, I recognize the oval key tag from the locksmith on Fulton Avenue. Is that a key to this house? She follows my gaze. "Don't be absurd. Show me." "Claire," Daniel says. I step between Evelyn and the back door. "Show me the key." Her mouth goes thin. "Daniel gave it to me for emergencies." "When?" "I don't recall." "She feeds Walter when we're away," Daniel says. "Walter, our old gray cat, died in February. We haven't been away since Walter died." "For God's sake," Evelyn snaps. "It's a key, not a declaration of war." She pushes past me. Her shoulder catches mine, a small, hard impact wrapped in cashmere. Daniel opens the door for her. Cold air rushes through the kitchen. Evelyn walks down the back steps without looking around, holding the railing with one hand and my key in the other. "Ask for it back," I say. Daniel closes the door. "Ask her for my key." "It's my key, too." "You had a copy made without telling me." "She's my mother." "That isn't an answer." "It is an answer. You just don't like it." He leans against the door, exhausted now that his audience is gone. On the floor near his shoe lies a shred of green velvet ribbon. It came from the old brass key we used when we first moved in, before the front lock started sticking. I tied the ribbon around it so we could tell it from the garage key. Daniel used to swing it around one finger when he walked home from the train. I bend and pick up the ribbon. "When did you decide?" I ask. He looks at the folder under my arm. "A while ago." "A month?" "I don't know." "6 months?" "Claire?" "Before Thanksgiving?" He rubs the bridge of his nose. "This is why I didn't know how to tell you. Because I ask when things happened? Because every conversation becomes an audit." The word lands strangely. Audit. For 10 years, I have done the books for his contracting company on Sunday nights. I match fuel charges to job sites, chase missing receipts, remind him which client still owes for tile. He makes fun of my spreadsheets until the bank wants one. When was the property schedule written? "I told you. It didn't print." "That's not what I asked." "You're trying to catch me in something." "I'm trying to find out what you want me to sign away." "You always do that." He laughs once without humor. "You take a simple thing and keep digging until everyone is guilty." "You filed for divorce." I drafted papers. With a move-out date. I was going to explain. Explain now. He looks around the kitchen. The cabinets I stripped and painted. The slate floor his crew installed during a slow February. The scar on the pantry door from the night we tried to carry in a butcher block table without measuring it first. "We sell the house," he says, "or I buy out your share." "My share." "You know what I mean." "No, I really don't." His eyes close briefly. "Mom sold it below market because she believed it would remain a heart home. My company put years of work into it. I put years into it. And I paid the mortgage. We paid the mortgage. The payments came from my account because I covered everything else. I think of the utility bills on auto pay from my checking account, the property taxes, Evelyn's condo insurance, the $1,200 for her water heater in March. What exactly did you cover?" His face changes again, only this time the watchfulness gives way to anger. "There," he says quietly. "That's the real marriage, isn't it? You with a calculator deciding whether I earned my place." I want to tell him I never thought he had to earn it. I want to remind him that I painted his office the dark green he liked, that I learned to sleep through his snoring, that I drove through sleet to bring his forgotten bid packet to Worcester. I want to ask whether he remembers rubbing paint off my cheek with his thumb in the empty living room and saying, "We did it. We got home." Instead, I say, "Where is Schedule B?" He looks at me for a long moment. Then he walks upstairs. I hear the bedroom door close. A drawer opens. The floorboard beside the bed gives its familiar squeak. Ordinary sounds from an ordinary house, except now each one seems to belong to a life happening behind a wall. I carry the folder into the small room off the dining room where I keep household records. Daniel calls it my archive, as if paper is a personal failing. The bottom drawer of the file cabinet contains the closing documents from Evelyn's sale: purchase contract, inspection, wire confirmation, loan note. I unlock it. The purchase contract is there. So is the inspection report with the coffee ring Daniel left on page 14. The cream envelope containing Evelyn's loan note is empty. I check again, sliding my fingers into every folder, though there is nowhere for 6 pages to hide. On the desk, my phone begins to vibrate. Ruth's name fills the screen. I answer in a whisper. "Tell me you didn't sign," she says. "I didn't." "Good. Where's Daniel?" "Upstairs." "And the papers?" "With me." I stare at the empty envelope. "Ruth," I say, "someone took the loan agreement." She is silent for just long enough. "Lock the folder away," she says, "then check whether anything else is missing." Above me, Daniel crosses the bedroom. The floorboard squeaks again. I shut the file drawer, but before I can turn the key, the back door opens. Not a knock. Not the bell. A key in the lock. Evelyn calls from the kitchen. "Daniel, I forgot my gloves." I stand in the dark office with the holiday folder pressed to my ribs and understand that she did not come back for gloves. Ruth heard her through the phone. "Who just came in?" "My mother-in-law." "Does she live there?" "No." "Did you invite her back?" "No." "Keep me on speaker." I set the phone on the desk and stepped into the hall. Evelyn stood in the kitchen with one glove on and one bare hand resting on the counter. The missing glove was tucked beneath the strap of her purse. Her gaze went straight to the folder. "There it is," she said. "Daniel thought you might misplace it." "I came for my gloves." "You're wearing them." She looked at her hands as if they had betrayed her. "I meant my scarf." "You weren't wearing a scarf." Daniel appeared at the bottom of the stairs. He had taken off his sweater. The white t-shirt underneath made him look younger, and for one disorienting instant, familiar. "Mom, what are you doing?" "She let herself in," I said. "With the key you gave me," Evelyn said. "I didn't break a window." Ruth's voice came from the office. "Mrs. Hart, this is Ruth Kaplan. Claire has asked you to leave." Evelyn flinched. She recovered quickly, but I saw it. "You have me on speaker?" Daniel asked. "Yes." "That's inappropriate." Ruth said, "Claire, take me off speaker once they've left." Evelyn's eyes narrowed toward the phone. "You've always enjoyed making yourself important, Ruth." "I bill in 6-minute increments, Evelyn. I don't need to manufacture importance." I almost smiled. Daniel didn't. "Ruth, this is a private marital discussion. Then your mother should go home." She came for her gloves. Evelyn lifted the hand wearing one. Daniel stared at it. The absurdity hung among us until he opened the back door. "Mom." Her face went rigid. Being caught did not embarrass Evelyn. It offended her. "I hope you remember who stood by you when this becomes ugly," she told him. Then she looked at me. "You can keep the key if it means that much." She pulled it from her purse and dropped it on the counter. It struck the granite, spun once, and fell to the floor. Daniel watched her leave. This time, he locked the door behind her. I picked up the key using a dish towel. "Oh, come on," he said. "I don't know how many copies there are." "There's one." "You said she needed it to feed Walter." "She did." "Walter died 10 months ago. Do you hear yourself? You're cross-examining me about a house key while Ruth listens. Ruth is waiting for you to go upstairs." His mouth opened. Ruth called from the phone. "That is correct." He climbed the stairs without another word. I locked myself in the office. Ruth waited while I checked the file cabinet properly. The loan note was gone, along with a thin folder of bank statements from the first 3 years after I bought the house. The annual tax packets remained. So did the closing disclosure, which showed Evelyn's private loan as part of the purchase financing. That helps, Ruth said. It proves the loan existed. It doesn't prove repayment. I paid her every month. By check. Sometimes, mostly transfers. Then she started asking me to pay things directly. What things? Condo fees, insurance, repairs, her groceries for a while. Did she put those requests in writing? Some were texts. Back them up tonight. I looked toward the ceiling. Can he take records from my desk? He can pick up a piece of paper in the home where he lives. Whether he can use it to misrepresent a transaction is a different question. Don't accuse him yet. He wants my house. He wants leverage. Those aren't always the same thing. I sat in the desk chair. My body had started shivering now that the rooms were quiet. What would have happened if I signed? Without Schedule B, he would have had a serious enforceability problem. You can't agree to property terms you were never shown. What if he added it later? Then we would have a different, uglier problem, which is why I told you to keep the originals. The folder lay across my knees. So this missing schedule saves the house? No. Ruth's voice softened. It saves you from tonight. That was the first honest thing anyone had said to me all evening. Ruth told me to scan the full packet in the morning, photograph the file drawers, and make a list of shared accounts. She would call a divorce attorney she trusted. She handled property closings and contract disputes, not divorces, but she would stay involved because of the house. Can I make Daniel leave? Not by throwing his clothes onto the lawn. I wasn't planning to. Your voice changed. I was picturing it. Picture away, don't do it. After we hung up, I wedged a chair under the office doorknob and slept on the narrow sofa with the green folder under my pillow. At 6, the smell of coffee woke me. For 3 seconds, I thought I had fallen asleep doing the quarterly books. Then I saw the chair beneath the knob. Daniel knocked once. I made coffee. I opened the door but left the chain on the folder's handle looped around my wrist. He stood there wearing jeans and yesterday's t-shirt, his hair stuck up at the crown. He held my blue mug. No papers in it, he said. That was exactly the kind of joke I used to love him for. I took the mug. Can we talk without lawyers listening? He asked. Where's the loan note? I don't know. Bank statements? Claire, you have so much paper in there that the foundation is probably sinking. Did you take them? No. Did your mother? I don't know. She came back because she thought I had the originals. She came back because she panicked. About what? He leaned against the doorframe. About losing the house again. She sold it. You know it wasn't that simple. It had not been simple. After Robert died, Evelyn could not afford the taxes or the repairs. The chimney leaked. Half the upstairs outlets sparked. She rejected 2 offers because the buyers planned to tear out Robert's woodwork. Then Daniel brought me through the side door on a rainy Sunday. I had loved the house before I loved him. That fact had always felt disloyal, so I never said it aloud. I gave her what she asked, I said. You gave the bank what they said it was worth, and borrowed the rest from her. Which she says you didn't finish repaying, because she asked me to cover her bills. She says those were gifts. I stared at him over the mug. You know they weren't. I know there was never a clear system. There was. You handled it. His eyes moved away. There it was. Small enough to miss if I had wanted to. You have the records, I said. I have business records. You set up the transfers from my account. I helped you. You wrote Evelyn Loan in the memo line for years. And then you stopped. Because she wanted her condo fees paid directly. That was between you and her. I felt the coffee warming my hands. Which side are you on in this sentence? He straightened. This is what I'm talking about. Marriage shouldn't have sides. You handed me divorce papers between the gravy and the potatoes. I was trying to make you face reality. What reality? That we've been living like accountants who share a bed. No, I've been your accountant. You stopped sharing the bed in October. His cheeks colored. not guilt. Annoyance that I had supplied a date. He walked into the kitchen. I followed because the folder chain was cutting into my wrist and because I did not want to be alone with what I was beginning to understand. The dining table had been cleared. He had washed the champagne glasses but left the roasting pans soaking. Tiny islands of fat floated on gray water. "I don't want to fight," he said. "Then show me Schedule B." It was a draft. You said the printer skipped it. It wasn't ready. You wanted my signature before it was ready. I wanted proof that you were willing to discuss this like an adult. I set down the mug. He knew as soon as he heard himself. His shoulders dropped. That came out wrong. No, I think that came out exactly right. He reached for me, then stopped before touching my arm. I haven't been happy for a long time. It was the sentence I had expected, and somehow the one that hurt most. Not because it was cruel, because it was ordinary. He had converted 11 years into a phrase people used when returning a mattress. How long? I don't know. You do know. Maybe since last winter. Last winter, his biggest commercial client went bankrupt, owing him $83,000. I spent 3 weekends building cash flow projections while he slept late and told his employees everything was fine. Evelyn came over every Sunday with soup for Daniel and opinions for me. You were unhappy, I said, so I kept your company alive. I didn't ask you to. I laughed. His face hardened. See, this is why. I carried the mug to the sink and poured the coffee out. At 9, he left for work with a duffel bag and said he would stay with Evelyn until things cooled down. I did not tell him that Ruth had advised me to photograph every room before he left. I took pictures after his truck turned the corner, his clothes in the closet, tools in the basement, the office safe, the wine rack, the cabinet where we kept passports. The brass key Evelyn returned was not stamped, "Do not duplicate." I placed it in a plastic sandwich bag, wrote Christmas Eve on the label, and put it with the divorce papers. Then I sat at the kitchen table and opened my banking app. The transfers formed a quiet biography. $400 to Evelyn on the first of every month, then $600, then direct payments to Birchwood condominiums, homeowners insurance, a plumber, a refrigerator, the water heater Daniel had called an early birthday present from us. Us meant my checking account. I searched my texts for condo, Evelyn. Rather than sending January, could you pay Birchwood directly? Daniel says it will be cleaner. Evelyn, the insurance is due Friday. Count it toward our arrangement. Evelyn, plumber wants $780. Deduct whatever you think is fair from what remains. I read that last message 4 times. Whatever remains. I forwarded the screenshots to Ruth and backed them up to a new email account. Then I logged into Daniel's company books. My password no longer worked. I tried again, slower. Access denied. He had changed it before Christmas dinner. A delivery truck stopped outside. I watched a man carry a box to the front steps, scan it, and leave. The label was addressed to Daniel's business. Inside were 40 brushed brass cabinet pulls for a renovation in Cambridge. The invoice tucked beneath them said past due. I photographed it and set the box in Daniel's office. My phone rang. Evelyn, I let it go to voicemail. She called again. On the 3rd call, I answered. I need you to stop upsetting Daniel, she said. Good morning to you too. He didn't sleep. Neither did I. You've always been sturdier. There it was, dressed as a compliment. What did you come back for last night? My scarf. You weren't wearing one. I thought I had. Did you take the loan agreement from my office? Her pause was careful. What loan agreement? The one where you loaned me part of the purchase price. I never loaned you anything. My fingers went cold. You signed it. I signed many papers because Ruth rushed me. She represented me. Precisely. I looked at the texts glowing on my laptop. What arrangement were you referring to when you told me to count the plumber against what remained? Family helps family. Then why did something remain? She inhaled sharply. You are twisting a casual message. I'm reading it. Daniel warned me you would do this. Pull apart every word until kindness looks like a contract. Did he ask you to deny the loan? He asked me to tell the truth. Did he give you the property schedule? Silence, not surprise. Calculation. I don't know what that is, she said. Then why did you tell Amanda he was fixing the ownership problem? Amanda repeats things she doesn't understand. She understood enough to apologize. Evelyn's voice lowered. Listen to me. Daniel has put more into that house than you can measure in mortgage payments. His father's hands are in every door frame. His mother's life was in those rooms. You came in with a down payment and made everything yours. You sold it to me. I trusted you. To do what? To understand. I closed my eyes. Daniel's line from the night before returned with new weight. I wanted proof that you were willing. They had spent years treating silence as an agreement I had failed to honor. I won't be paying your condo fee on the 1st, I said. What? Or your insurance. You should make other arrangements. You can't simply stop. I can. That money repays nothing according to you. It's family helping family. That's right, Claire. And I'm done helping. She hung up. By noon, Daniel had removed me from the company bank account and emailed a formal notice instructing me not to access his business records. At 12:17, Birchwood Condominiums emailed to ask whether my automatic payment for Evelyn's unit should continue next month. I clicked cancel. At 1:30, a courier came to the front door. The envelope contained Daniel's filed divorce petition and a motion requesting temporary exclusive use of the house. He claimed my response at Christmas made him fear that continued cohabitation would be volatile and unsafe. Attached was a statement signed by Evelyn describing how I had blocked her exit, seized her key, and behaved irrationally in front of guests. I read it standing on the threshold. Across the street, a curtain moved. The courier asked, "Do you need to sign?" I did. When I finished, he tore off my copy and gave it to me with an apologetic little nod. Behind me, the house was silent. Daniel's tools still filled the basement. His coat still hung beside mine. The old brass key with its frayed green ribbon still waited in the bowl by the door. He had not forgotten to print Schedule B. He had needed one more day to decide which version of me would make taking the house easiest. I carried the envelope to the kitchen and called Ruth. She read the motion while I stood at the sink peeling dried rosemary from the roasting pan. It came away in black curls. "He wants you out of the house?" I asked. "He wants the court to give him temporary use while the case is pending." "Can they?" "They can do many things. That doesn't mean they will." "He says I'm unsafe. He says you blocked a door during an argument and took a key from his mother. She dropped it." "I believe you." Evelyn has supplied a different sentence. Ruth connected me with Nora Feld, a divorce attorney whose voice had the dry calm of someone discussing weather that had already ruined several roofs. "Any threats?" Nora asked. "No." "Broken objects?" A gravy boat was set down aggressively. Silence. "That was a joke," I said. "I know. I'm deciding whether I like you." I sat at the kitchen table. Nora told me not to change the locks, empty accounts, sell anything, or contact Daniel's employees. I could protect personal records and stop voluntary payments that were not household obligations. She wanted photographs of every room, copies of tax returns, and a timeline that used dates instead of conclusions. "Don't write, 'Daniel plotted with his mother,'" she said. "Write, December 24th. Evelyn knew a notary was expected. Facts wear better. Can I say he stole the loan note? Did you see him take it? No. Then it is missing." By evening, my marriage had become a list of verbs that would survive cross-examination. Bought, paid, transferred, filed, entered. Loved did not appear anywhere. Daniel returned the next afternoon with his lawyer's advice and none of his clothes. He stayed on the porch until I opened the door. "Am I allowed inside?" he asked. "You filed to remove me, not yourself." "I filed because you were out of control. I stepped aside." He went directly to the office, found it locked, and looked at me. "I need company tax records. You remove my access. That doesn't make the paper files yours. Tell me which ones you need. I'll copy them." "This is my house too, Claire. You keep saying that as if volume is evidence." He stared past me at the brass key in the bowl. The green ribbon had faded almost gray where our hands had worn it smooth. "You put that there on purpose." "It's where the keys go." "No, it isn't. We haven't used that key in years." "I found it." He picked it up, turned it once in his fingers, and dropped it back. "I need the vendor file and last year's payroll summaries." I made copies while he waited in the dining room. Before giving them to him, I photographed each page. He watched without comment. At the door, he said, "Mom's condo payment bounced." I canceled it. "You could have warned her." I did. "She has 18 days before a late fee. Then she has 18 days to pay. She's on a fixed income. She also receives rent from Robert's old workshop. That barely covers taxes." I almost asked how he knew her finances so well while knowing so little about mine. Then I remembered who had set up every transfer. "Help her," I said. "My company is struggling." "I know." His eyes sharpened. "How?" "A past due delivery came here." "So now you're opening company mail?" The invoice was loose in the box. "You always have an explanation." He left with the copies under his arm. The temporary use hearing was 4 days later. Daniel sat across the courtroom aisle in a charcoal suit I had picked out for Robert's memorial. Evelyn sat behind him wearing navy and an expression of injured patience. Nora told the judge that Daniel had chosen to stay elsewhere, had entered the house without obstruction, and had retrieved business files. She supplied my photographs, Ruth's time-stamped copy of the incomplete settlement, and Paige's brief email confirming that a notary had been expected. Daniel's lawyer called Christmas dinner a private attempt at resolution. The judge looked at the missing Schedule B. Resolution of what terms? Daniel's lawyer said a drafting error had occurred. The motion to remove me was denied, but the judge would not order Daniel out either. We were both entitled to occupy the house until we agreed otherwise. Communication was to remain civil. Property was not to be moved except for ordinary personal use. In the hallway, Evelyn approached before Nora could stop her. "You humiliated him," she said. "He filed the motion. You made him look dishonest. He brought an agreement without the page describing my house." Her chin lifted. "Your house." Daniel came between us. "Mom, enough." She turned on him. "Don't speak to me as if I caused this." I said enough. For once he meant it. Evelyn walked away, heels striking the polished floor. Daniel watched her reach the elevator, but he did not follow. "I didn't know she'd sign a statement like that," he said. "You used it." "My lawyer used it." "That must be a comfortable distinction." He rubbed his thumb against the edge of his briefcase. "Paige gave you an email?" She told the truth. "She wasn't in the room when Mom came back. She was there when you expected me to sign." His face tightened. "Amanda isn't speaking to Mom." "That isn't my doing. Everything is coming apart." The elevator opened. Evelyn stood inside, holding the door with one hand. Daniel looked at her, then at me. He went with her. The first person to notice I had stopped doing Daniel's books was Marvin at North County Lumber. He called on a Tuesday and asked whether Daniel had changed email addresses because 3 invoices were overdue. "You'll need to call him," I said. "You usually fix it." "I don't work for Heart Restoration," Marvin chuckled. "Since when?" I looked at the divorce petition beside my laptop. Apparently, ever. The calls continued. A tile supplier, the payroll service. A client who could not understand why her change order had vanished. I gave each person Daniel's number and nothing else. Then Luis Ortega called. He had worked with Daniel for 7 years and could read an old house the way Ruth read a contract. "Daniel says you're freezing company funds," he said. "I'm not on the account anymore. He says checks are delayed because of the divorce." "I don't issue his checks." Luis exhaled. Machinery whined behind him. He told the guys, "You're claiming the Alder Street work was never paid." "I haven't spoken to anyone about the work." He wants statements from us. Dates, hours, materials. That sounds like something you should discuss with him. "Claire, were those invoices real?" The question was too careful. "I paid the invoices Daniel gave me." "But did you pay what's on the copies?" I don't know what copies you've seen. Another pause. I'm going to email you something, he said. Luis, Nora told me not to contact employees. You didn't contact me. The email contained 6 invoices for work on Alder Street. The amounts were higher than the copies in my house records. One claimed Daniel's company had supplied custom walnut cabinets at no charge. I had paid $18,000 for those cabinets from my own account. I forwarded everything to Nora without replying. She called 20 minutes later. This is useful, she said. It is not a winning lottery ticket. I didn't think it was. You sounded hopeful. I'm trying to remember what that feels like. Her sigh softened. Daniel may have inflated some figures. He also performed work, supervised crews, and likely increased the value of your separate property during the marriage. We hired an appraiser. The preliminary estimate is not friendly. The number she gave me was large enough that I wrote it down twice. If the court credits half of that increase to the marriage, plus his labor, I understand. Do you? I would have to refinance. At current rates. The house seemed to contract around me. I pictured the payment, the legal fees, the repairs the old roof would need by spring. What if I can't? Then selling becomes possible. After the call, I walked from room to room, touching the places Daniel had repaired. The newel post he tightened. The dining room plaster he and Luis replaced. The pantry door we scarred together. It was easier when I could think of him as a thief. Harder when the evidence of his work was solid beneath my hand. Amanda came by that evening carrying 2 paper bags of Christmas leftovers Evelyn had ordered her to throw away. I froze the potatoes, she said. Your gravy might be a lost cause. You drove across town to return gravy? I needed an excuse. We ate pecan pie at the kitchen counter. Evelyn thinks I betrayed her, she said. You sent one email. She wanted me to say you screamed. Did I? No, that almost made it worse. I pushed the whipped cream toward her. Amanda said Evelyn had been telling relatives that I bought the house for practically nothing, though the closing price matched the appraisal. Daniel had been discussing a buyout since October. He believed the house could become his company's showcase and office. Evelyn wanted the front parlor restored to the way Robert kept it, with his drafting table under the windows. Did Daniel say where I was supposed to go? Amanda looked down at her pie. That answer hurt more than I expected. 3 days later, Nora and Ruth met me at the house. Ruth spread the closing documents across the dining table. Nora brought the appraiser's report. The good news fit on half a page. Title was in my name. Evelyn's original loan appeared in the closing records. Her texts supported repayment. The bad news filled a binder. Some transfers were ambiguous. Daniel's legitimate renovation work mattered. His business interest had value, but far less than the equity he claimed in the house. If I fought every point through trial, I could win the title and lose the ability to afford it. Ruth tapped the settlement's blank reference to Schedule B. This stopped an ambush. It didn't erase 11 years. The old carriage clock clicked behind her. Nora asked, "What are you willing to give up to keep the house?" The answer arrived the next morning. Daniel proposed that I waive any claim to his company. He would reduce his demand for renovation equity and withdraw the request to sell if I refinanced within 60 days. For 10 minutes, it looked almost survivable. Then I reached the final paragraph. Evelyn would retain a permanent key. I would sign a statement acknowledging Alder Street as a Hart family property and allow reasonable access for family occasions and preservation of Robert Hart's legacy. Daniel called before I finished reading. "It gives you what you want," he said. "It gives your mother my front door. It gives her dignity." What does it give me? The house. On the condition that I admit it isn't mine. He was quiet. I pictured the cheaper payment, the end of legal bills, sleep. All I had to surrender was a sentence and a key. "Claire," he said, almost tenderly, "you don't have to turn everything into a boundary." I looked at the faded green ribbon in the bowl. "Yes," I said, "I do." Then I told him no. Daniel didn't argue. That frightened me more than anger would have. "All right," he said. "Then we let the attorneys handle it." He hung up, and 5 minutes later, Nora forwarded a notice withdrawing the offer. That evening, Daniel came for the rest of his suits. He moved through the bedroom quietly, laying them in a garment bag one at a time. I sat on the window seat with a novel open in my lap and watched him pack the cufflinks Robert had given him, 3 watches, and the cedar shoe trees I bought because he kept complaining his good shoes collapsed in the closet. "You can have the company," he said. "I know, all of it." I read the offer. "You always said it was half yours." I said the work I did had value, so take it. You want me to trade the house for a business I'd have to rescue? His hand stopped on a hanger. "That's what you think of it?" "I've seen the overdue invoices. One bad client hurt us. You changed my password before asking me to sign a settlement, because I knew you would go through everything. I went through everything every Sunday for 10 years. You never let me forget it." He zipped the garment bag. His face looked tired, but the exhaustion no longer pulled me toward him. I could see its uses now. How often it had ended a conversation, how quickly his fatigue became my assignment. At the bedroom door, he glanced back. "You could have said yes." "To your mother's key?" "To peace." He left before I could ask why peace always required a woman to stand in my kitchen without permission. Luis brought the work logs to Ruth's office 2 days before mediation. He arrived in paint-stiff boots and kept his coat on, as if he intended to leave before anyone mistook him for a hero. "These are the originals," he said, placing 3 spiral notebooks on the conference table. "Daily hours, job codes, materials." Ruth turned the first notebook toward the light. "Why didn't the company keep these?" "It did. I kept carbon copies because Daniel loses things." "He doesn't lose things," I said. Luis looked at me. "No, I guess not." The logs showed real work at Alder Street. Daniel had spent weekends repairing joists, rebuilding 2 window frames, and supervising the kitchen floor. His crews had worked at reduced rates during slow periods. They also showed that the free custom cabinets, donated plasterwork, and 6 weeks of unpaid labor in his claim had never happened. Nora read without smiling. "Will you give a statement?" she asked. Luis rubbed his palms over his knees. "I'll tell the truth if I'm asked. That may affect your job." "My job is already affected. Payroll was late again." I wanted to apologize, though I had not withheld his check. Daniel's debts had begun turning up in other people's kitchens. Luis stood. "He's good at the work, Claire." "I know." "He can walk into a wreck and see the room it wants to be." "I know that, too." At the door, he paused. He just started acting like seeing it meant he owned it. Mediation took place in a suite above a pharmacy, in a room designed to make every human feeling look excessive. Beige walls, beige carpet, a framed photograph of smooth stones balanced on top of one another. Daniel sat beside his lawyer at the far end of the table. Evelyn was not invited, but her influence had arrived ahead of her. Daniel placed Robert's old leather portfolio beside his chair. The mediator asked whether there had been progress on identifying the marital estate. Daniel's lawyer passed a document across the table. "Schedule B," he said. There it was. The property schedule listed Alder Street first. Estimated current value, mortgage balance, proposed division. Beneath that, a paragraph described an outstanding family contribution from Evelyn, followed by a number only $11 different from the balance in my missing handwritten ledger. My breath caught. Ruth touched my elbow once. Daniel would receive the house. He would refinance the mortgage and pay me what the schedule called my net separate contribution, an amount smaller than my original down payment. Evelyn's alleged unpaid loan would be deducted first. "This wasn't attached on Christmas Eve," Nora said. "It was inadvertently omitted," Daniel's lawyer replied. "Was this exact schedule in existence on Christmas Eve?" "It reflects the intended terms." That wasn't my question. Daniel looked at the balanced stones. Ruth examined the footer. Then she opened the electronic copy Daniel's lawyer had emailed that morning. Her fingers moved across the keyboard. Your PDF was created December 27th, she said. Daniel's lawyer leaned toward his screen. The document may have been converted that day. The underlying file was also created December 27th. The author field is Daniel Hart. It was reconstructed after the original failed to print. I looked at Daniel. You told me it wasn't ready. He finally met my eyes. It wasn't final. You told the court it was a printing error. His lawyer whispered something to him. The mediator held up a hand. Let's keep this productive. Ruth slid the schedule closer to me. Where did this loan balance come from? Daniel answered before his lawyer could. Mom's records. Then we'd like those records. She told me the number. $11 off a handwritten balance Claire kept in a file that disappeared from her office? I had access to the household files. Nora's gaze sharpened. So you removed them? No, I used them before they went missing. The mediator closed her eyes briefly. Daniel's lawyer asked for a private caucus. In the small room next door, Nora paced while Ruth compared the new schedule with my tax records. I stared through the window at the pharmacy sign. This is good for credibility, Nora said. It does not eliminate his equitable claim. I understand. Do you? Because his numbers are inflated, but the appraisal still exists. Ruth tapped a tax return. Look at this. Daniel's company had borrowed money 18 months earlier. To improve his debt ratio, he had prepared a statement of household obligations for the lender. Evelyn's condo payments appeared under liabilities as repayment of purchase money debt on Alder Street. The same accounting appeared in 2 business tax work papers I had prepared from Daniel's notes. At the time, he had corrected my label from family support to seller financing. I remembered him leaning over my shoulder, tapping the screen with a pencil. Call things what they are, Claire. His sentence was still there in a comment attached to the spreadsheet. Nora gave a low whistle. That's helpful. Is it enough? It is enough to make their schedule dangerous. When we returned, Daniel's lawyer had lost the smooth confidence he brought in. The claim that Evelyn's loan remained unpaid disappeared from his next proposal. So did the demand that Daniel receive the house outright. The mediator separated us again. Numbers traveled back and forth for 3 hours. Daniel wanted credit for every improvement. I wanted credit for the business records I had maintained without pay. He wanted half the increase in the house's value. I wanted reimbursement for the condo payments Evelyn now claimed were gifts. He offered to surrender his interest in the house if I waived the business and paid him an equity amount I could barely finance. I offered less. He refused. At 6, the mediator brought us into the same room. We have narrowed this to a number, she said, and to non-financial language concerning family access. No family access language, I said. Daniel stared at me. You'd lose the house over a key? I'm willing to pay what I can prove I owe you. I'm not paying your mother with my front door. She lived there for 27 years, and then she sold it. She trusted us to keep it in the family. She trusted me to cover her condo. His lawyer put a hand flat on the table. This is not productive. Daniel kept looking at me. Why does it matter so much? Because you gave her a key and lied about it. Because she came back into my house to take papers that would help you push me out. Because you sat beside her while she laughed. She was scared. So was I. The words came out quieter than I expected. For the first time all day, his face opened. Not enough to become remorse, but enough for me to see the man who once spent an hour fixing the carriage clock because its silence bothered me. I didn't think you'd sign that night, he said. His lawyer shifted beside him. You put yellow tabs on the signature lines. I thought you'd see I was serious. I thought we'd finally talk. You brought witnesses and a notary. Mom did that. You let her? He looked down. That was the center of it. Not Evelyn's entitlement or her key or even the missing pages. He had built the ambush and left room for his mother to make it cruel. Then he had called her cruelty an accident because admitting the truth would require him to choose a side. The mediator asked Daniel whether he would remove the access provision. He whispered with his lawyer. Then he said, "If Claire meets the equity number and waives the company," Nora wrote something on her pad and turned it toward me. "The figure would take most of my savings. The refinance payment would hurt. I would give up any claim to a company I had helped steady, including any value it recovered later." I pictured leaving Alder Street with enough money to breathe. I could buy a smaller place with working windows and no history inside the walls. No Evelyn, no Robert, no pantry scar, no room where Daniel had once kissed paint from my cheek. Then I pictured signing another paper because pressure had made surrender look reasonable. "Take the company," I said. "Take the verified renovation equity. The house stays mine. No family language. No key." Daniel's mouth tightened. "And the loan?" he asked. "Your own records say it was repaid." He leaned back and looked at the ceiling. The mediator waited. Finally, he said, "Fine." The agreement took another month to finish and 2 more to fund. Nothing became easy because Daniel said fine. The bank questioned my income. The roof inspection found cracked flashing. Nora's bill arrived on the same day as the refinance estimate, and I sat on the laundry room floor laughing until the laugh became something else. I took freelance bookkeeping work at night. I sold the dining table that had required the pantry door repair and bought a smaller round one from a consignment shop. Ruth checked every page of the final settlement, including the complete property schedule, while I initialed each one. Daniel kept his company. Within weeks, North County Lumber put him on cash terms. He sold a trailer and one of his 2 trucks to cover payroll and moved into Evelyn's condo instead of renting his own place. Evelyn left me 3 voicemails about the condo insurance. In the first, she sounded commanding. In the second, injured. In the third, frightened. I sent her the insurer's phone number and nothing else. Amanda told me Daniel and Evelyn were fighting over money, furniture, and the hours he kept. Paige had stopped attending Sunday dinner. I asked Amanda not to update me anymore. "You don't want to know if they regret it?" she asked. Not enough to keep paying attention. Daniel came to Alder Street on a wet April morning to collect the last of his tools. He walked through each room slowly. In the front parlor, the pale rectangles where his framed project photographs had hung made the walls look unfinished. "Mom wants the drafting table," he said. "It was included in the sale." I know. He did know. That was new. We carried the table to his truck together. At the curb, he handed me the current front door key. "I never wanted you to feel like you didn't belong here," he said. "You wanted me to belong on terms you didn't have to explain." Rain gathered on his eyelashes. Maybe. It was not enough, but it was honest. After he drove away, I called the locksmith anyway. He replaced the cylinders in both doors and gave me 3 new keys. I gave one to Amanda after she asked, plainly, whether she could have it for emergencies. I gave another to Ruth, who refused until I reminded her that she lived 6 blocks away and had once climbed through my office window when I locked myself out. The third stayed in the kitchen drawer. When December came, I found the green accordion folder beneath a stack of appliance manuals. The yellow signature tabs were still attached to Daniel's papers. Behind them sat the complete settlement, the canceled condo authorization, and a copy of Schedule B, stamped with the date it had actually been created. I added the receipt for the new lock. On Christmas Eve, Amanda and Paige brought pie. Ruth brought champagne and complained that my potatoes needed salt. We ate at the small round table while the carriage clock counted the hour. After they left, I carried the glasses to the sink and turned off the downstairs lights. The old brass key lay in the folder, tied to its faded green ribbon. It opened nothing now. I closed the folder and placed it in the kitchen drawer. Then I went to the front door, turned the new lock with my own hand, and listened to it settle into place.